Welcome to the Web Development Crash Course, designed specifically for beginners by Wsuits Industries. Let's build the web together. Welcome back to the Web Dev Crash Course by Wsuits Industries. Now in this course, we are going to cover CSS. That's the basics of CSS. In a previous course, we created our HTML document, and now it's time for us to now style our HTML document. You can see that our HTML document looked very ugly and it wasn't really, nice. So we need to make CSS to make it look a little bit nice. So now, what we have to do now, we have to be able to link our CSS to our HTML. Now, before that, we need to understand what is CSS. CSS is known as Cascading Styling Sheet. It is used to style web pages, give it colors, text, and make it look representable. So now, how do we link our HTML to its CSS? So what we are going to do is that we are going to navigate to our Explorer menu like we do, and we click on a new file, then we name it, then we give it an extension of .css. So after doing this, we now have our CSS file right here. So we now have to link it to our HTML document. So we click on link. Then after clicking on link, you can see that when you type the link, it auto-completes on VS Code. And it says the relationship is what? A style sheet. Then the href, that is the location of the CSS file. Now, since the CSS file is inside our directory, I'm going to use the home directory. We're going to click on the dot slash, then the name of the file. So now we have linked our CSS to the HTML successfully. So basically, whatever we type here will affect the CSS. Now, to understand something, CSS works in a very special way. It has a general syntax, and the general syntax simply means a selector is, you call a selector, then after having a selector, you use a curly bracket, then you have a property, then after the property will have a value. So basically, you have a selector that will select the HTML elements, then the property is going to specify what type of thing are you editing. Are you editing the size? Are you editing the margin, the text, the color, the background color, or image? So this is the basic syntax of CSS. So now, first of all, what do we want to style in our HTML page? We want to select each and every single element on our HTML page. Now, how do we do that? We are going to use the general selector. And the general selector, it's done with the asterisk sign. So after clicking on the asterisk sign, we open our curly brackets. Now we are going to give this page a different font. Now fonts are the type of text that we are going to use. So you can study that our font really looks boring. So we are going to change the font to font family. Then we say Sego UI. So you have a list of font families right here that you can choose from. So we are going to choose Sego UI. So after choosing Sego UI, you can see that our font has changed right here. You can see the font really looks nice right now. It looks very representable. So the next thing we are going to do now is we have to edit the body itself. Now, to edit the body, we can simply call the body tag. You see, we have our body tag right here. So if you want to edit it, we can just say body, then give it a style, or we can give it a specific ID or class. So now we're going to call the body tag. Then we say background color. Then we're going to use, now with colors, there are so many types of colors you can use in CSS. You can use a color in the hexadecimal form, the RGB form, the named form, or the HSL form. So what I'm going to use is the hexadecimal form, but you can just simply type the color name and to apply. So what we're going to do is we're going to type hash, then the hexadecimal form of the color. So we are given this color right here. Now in VS Code, you can simply change the color when you hover over it, and you can choose the color that you want. So I'm going to choose a little bit blue-like color. I want something really light. Our theme in Wsuits Industries is blue, so we're going to choose blue. Yes, something light like this is okay. Good. So after choosing this light blue, we now have our background color as blue. So now the body is now having a background color. So what we now have to do next is we want to select other elements on the page. So now let's go and look for our heading. Our portfolio name here, right? We don't like the way it is. We need to style it. So we're going to select it by using the class selector. So a class selector simply means you're going to add an element to a specific class. So whatever you do to that class, it affects all the elements who are part of that class. So we're going to click on that elements tag, opening tag, and type class. Class equals to, then we put the name of the class. So we can say heading. So now, we now know that our HTML element here, the class for it is heading. So what we have to do now is copy the name of this class, go to our CSS, and add a dot, then the name. So dot heading, which means we are selecting all classes which are heading, which have the name heading in their class. So now after doing this, we can now edit our heading. So what we are going to do here is that I want to change the font size. So I'll say font size. Then we are going to select by a unit. So now in CSS, there are so many units. We have EM, we have REM, and we have PX. So I'm going to teach you the PX because this is a crash course. Now the PX simply means pixels. So you're going to calculate based on the number of pixels you want that image to take. So if I say 100 pixels, you can see that our image, our this thing becomes very, very big. So I can just say 45 pixels will be okay. 45 pixels. Yes, so 45 pixels, it looks nice, but I want it to be a little bit bigger. 60 pixels. Now 60 pixels make it a little bit more nice. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to change the color. So we say color, then we're going to choose the color we want. So when we choose the color, we're going to want something blue. Yes. Good. So something blue like this will be okay for our portfolio heading. We'll enhance this code as time goes on. So after choosing everything, we now can give the class to other elements on the page. So you can see that we have my skills right here. So my skills right here, we can give it a class of heading. It's a class heading, and you can see that the class has applied to the my skills. So whatever style you give the my skills is, or the heading style, is going to affect anybody who has that class in their opening tag. So the next thing we are going to do is we have our paragraph right here. It looks a little bit small, so what we have to do is we are going to select a general selector for all the paragraphs on the page by using the P selector for the P tag. So after doing this, we say font size 20 pixels. It makes it look big, and we say font weight, that is how bold it's going to look like. We say bold. So after doing this, you can see that our paragraph now looks a little bit clear. So we are going to say align items, then we'll say center. So sorry, align items is full. We'll say align text align. So text align center. So now we want to put the text right here at the middle to make it look a little bit nice. So we can literally make all the text on the page in the middle by just saying text align center. So when we type this, all our text will be aligned to the middle right here. So now this is how CSS actually works. So the next thing we want to do is our image. It looks really big. So what we're going to do is we're going to give our image an ID. So we say ID, then we say profile picture. So the ID we have given this image, this is the only image that is going to have an ID called profile. No other image can have, or no other HTML tag will have something called ID as profile. Only the image file will have the ID. So after having the ID, we need to select the ID. We go to our CSS. Now to select an ID, we use a hash sign. Then we put the ID name, then style it. So now we are going to style the width of the image. So we say width, then we say 30 pixels. Now if I type this, you can see that our image has reduced drastically. So we can just say 100 pixels like this, 100 pixels, and see here to change the size of the image. So this is how you can style an image. So step by step, let me come. We are now going to make the image look round. So we just give it a border. The border will be solid. A border is simply a line around the element. So we give our border, we say border radius 50%, because you're going to make it look round. So this is how you can style your images and we'll build up on this on the next video, which we'll be covering. But let's continue by making our page look a little bit more responsive. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to just fix up some stuff right here. So everything here looks a little bit better from the beginning, and it looks a little bit yeah. So the next thing we have to do now is we have to now go into our HTML code, then select our list. So we're going to say class list. Then inside the list class, we are going to give it a border and a background color. So we're going to say dot list background color. I'm really a fan of glassomorphism, so I'm going to say F8 F8. Now after giving it this background color, we are going to give it a margin, that is the spacing, px. So increasing the margin didn't work, so obviously we're going to use padding instead. Now after doing the padding, the next thing we have to do is we need to give it some structure. So we will use the border to give it some little bit styling, and we give it this solid, and we give it a border radius, we say 20 px. So basically CSS has a lot of styling. When we open the page, this is how it now looks. So CSS has a lot of styling, in which one cannot really memorize every single styling code. All you have to do is understand how CSS actually works very well before you now get into memorizing top level CSS codes. So what we now have to do is, this is our CSS right here, a basic CSS, and this is our basic HTML. Now you see how they both work together. You link the HTML to the CSS, and whatever you do here affects the HTML right here. So this is how it works. So we can improve it as time goes on. The next video will cover the CSS box model, whereby we'll be arranging everything on this page and actually making our website look very, very responsive and nice. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe.